Okay, I said I was done making comments about the teacher strike, but I have to talk about one more thing because I'm getting tons of comments about it still and it's driving me crazy. People keep saying, well, what do you consider a livable wage? What do you consider a livable wage? And you have to look at it this way. If you started a job 10 years ago and you based your lifestyle around the salary you made at that time, you bought a house well within your means to pay your mortgage, you bought a car that you could definitely afford, you had extra money to save, but then inflation happened. And now every year that goes by, you're noticing that money you're able to save is less and less and less. You shouldn't have to go sell your car and sell your house. And no, you didn't buy above your means. You bought well within your means. But inflation has gone crazy. So yeah, you shouldn't have to sell everything just to be able to afford it. Your wage should keep up with inflation. People saying, you knew the wage when you got hired. Okay, so if you started a job in 1995 for $37,000 a year, you think if you were still in that job in 2025, you should still be making $37,000 a year because that's the wage you signed up for? I know that seems like a really extreme example, but it's not. The difference in the cost of living from today versus 10 years ago is huge. So a livable wage is the wage you need to be able to have the same type of lifestyle you had 10 years ago when you started that job, when you accepted that money. Stop expecting that everybody sell their houses. Doesn't even make sense. And if you're fighting against that fact, you're kind of fighting against yourself. So
We have gotten to the point where a lot of wages, a lot of full-time employees are not able to pay their bills. They're not able to have the necessities they need. They need the government assistance in those cases. And the minimum wage is so low that even, of course, you're not supposed to stay on minimum wage forever, but you really can't afford much on minimum wage unless, of course, you have your housing paid for, you're living with your parents, for example. Now, for people who are living alone and are making above minimum wage, even those may not be livable wages for them depending on where they're living. And we're seeing this across the entire nation, even where you're living in a state that is a very low cost of living, wages are not keeping up with the rate of inflation, meaning your purchasing power is not as effective as it used to be. And the solution for this problem for a lot of people is just to get multiple jobs, probably have some side hustles. So it's very unfortunate to see that a lot of the younger generation is forced to have multiple jobs just to pay off their insane rent costs, insane grocery bills, insane insurance bills. Everything has gotten so high that people are getting stretched thin. Let me know down below. Take a look at the rest of these clips.
$22 an hour is a living wage. You guys just create these lives to where it's impossible to live. Even if you was able to make $30, $40, $50 an hour, you will go add 6 more kids and 2 extra car payments and then be in the same boat as when you were making 20. And I never see single people complaining about the wages. Always the people with 3, 4, 5 kids, somebody on child support and unable to pay it. Those are the people that I see complaining about it. But people who actually get up, work Monday through Friday, a little overtime here, and have a side hustle they're working on and going to school, I don't see them complaining about it, not one bit.
Wait a minute. So you telling me the cost of living is rising day to day to day? The cost of mortgage and rent and food and clothes and water and all of that is steady rising. But one thing that ain't rising is minimum wage. Come on, sip a little tea with Auntie. Let's talk about it. I'm from the state of Louisiana, y'all, and our minimum wage hasn't changed in years. Y'all ready for this big old number that our minimum wage is set for our state? $7.25 is what the minimum wage is in the state of Louisiana. I know some of y'all say I'm country and I'm sound funny. Y'all can't understand what I'm saying, so I'm gonna say it again. $7.25 is what the state of Louisiana has set for minimum wage with the cost of everything going up. I do realize every state has a different cost of living. I understand. It costs you even more in certain states to even live. But y'all, think about it. Somebody who is set that makes $7.25 in these days and time, y'all, they're going to have to use the government in order to survive. How much can you do with $7.25? Even after working 40 hours a week, what can you do with $7.25? Not much. So you're going to need the government to chip in the other half just for you to still be broke. I can remember a time y'all were making $15, $20 an hour. You was bankroll after bankroll. Now that $15, $20 is just basically like you making the $9, $10 that we was making back in the day that we was able to do more with. Now $15, $20 is like, like you only making 8 or 9 because the cost of everything is so high that it's sucking that money out of your wallet. Mm-hmm. Enough people ain't talking about it, y'all, but y'all know I ain't telling no lies. It's 100% actual, factual that, this economy right here is at its worst right now. Right here, right now. And any time that you make it more money, you seeing 15, 20, $25 an hour. But when you get your check and after you paying your bills, you ain't got nothing to tuck away. That should tell you. Yeah. Tell you exactly what you need to know. Thank y'all for sipping a little more tea with Ain't Tea. Bye, y'all.
I live in the state of Oregon where the minimum wage is $15, and in the Portland metro area, it's $16. I was telling one of my coworkers how I'm from Louisiana and that the minimum wage back home was $7.25, which is slave wages. And they were like so shook. And I was like, that's a lot of states. I feel like a lot of states still go off of the federal minimum wage. And it's just like absolutely fucking crazy to think about how someone can work all day long, okay? So let's just say they work an 8-9 hour shift. So on an entire shift, that's $65 before taxes. Can you even believe that shit? And after taxes, it's worse. It's like less than $50. Can you imagine making $50 a day for your hard work all day long? And then you're like, oh, I gotta go by the grocery store on the way home to feed my kid or feed myself. And it's like, cool, one bag of groceries costs your entire day's work. If not, that doesn't cover it. It's probably double that. It just blows my mind, dude. Like, the fact that that's still legal in today's economy. Like, even 10 years ago, it was a horrible wage. Like, that's literally how much money I made at my very first job whenever I was 17. And I'm 33. I saw a guy on here, it went viral. That guy who was like, well, if you're making minimum wage, then you need to learn a skill and get a better job. It's like, dude, you're missing the whole fucking point. It's the fact that nobody should have to work a job making that little money. Every job in society is important. Every job in society is important.
$15 an hour is not a living wage. Okay? I live in a state where the cost of living is significantly lower than the rest of the country. Okay? And I don't have money for anything. Okay? I make $15 an hour and I'm broke. It's not a living wage. It's not. Not with rent, car payment, gas, electric, fuel gas, okay? Internet, phone, your streaming services. Most of the time, I don't have money left over to buy basic necessities. I don't. I have to break up my payments and my bills just so I don't overdraw every week.
In 2025, if you are still saying that not every wage is meant to be a livable wage, you need to get sent to the Hague. Every single wage in the world's and history's richest country ever should be a livable wage. If you're working a full-time job, you should be able to live off it. That shouldn't be controversial whatsoever, bro. A lot of people will bring up McDonald's as an example, like, oh, do you think a McDonald's worker deserves a livable wage? Yes, I do, actually. And if your argument is, well, McDonald's employees are like teenagers and they don't need a livable wage, who do you think is working the night shift? Who do you think is working the overnight 24-hour McDonald's night shifts on weekdays? It's not fucking teenagers, it's adults. And those adults deserve to live off their wage that they make from working off a billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar. And guess what? If your company can't afford to pay its employees a livable wage, your company doesn't deserve to exist. Because how is it fair that your employees are making you billions and billions of dollars, or even millions or hundreds of thousands at a smaller scale, but yet you can't afford to pay those workers who are keeping your business alive a dignified, livable wage? Come on, man. In America? Be for real. Why is the federal minimum wage still $7.25 an hour, bro? Since 2009. What is this? Nobody in this fucking country can live off $7.25 an hour. You're gonna live in like severe poverty, dude.
Have you ever looked at minimum wage? Not like metaphorically. Have you ever seen it? A $5 bill, two $1 bills, and a quarter for an hour of your life? The last time the minimum wage was increased was July 24th, 2009. It was increased to $7.25 per hour. That was up from $5.15 per hour. But who can possibly live and survive and thrive on $7.25 per hour? And what should it actually be? I've seen a number of figures, some talking about the wage and, of course, purchasing power when you consider things like inflation and what the purchasing power of someone living when the minimum wage was first introduced. One would think that the simple answer would be the cost of owning a home and living with your family. In Nevada, my state, in 2022, that cost or that wage would be $111,557 per year. Well, if you break that out, that is $53.63 per hour. Accounting for, breaks and holidays, that's $59.34 per hour. The current minimum wage is $7.25 per hour, but in order to afford a basic home in Nevada, to own a basic home, you have to make $53.63 per hour, and the minimum wage is $7.25. Why have we gone so wrong? Why have we drifted so far from the basic dream, from the basic idea of simply having a roof over your head for working 40 hours a week? Why does it have to be so unattainable? Why is it so difficult? And why haven't we raised the minimum wage since 2009? We deserve better.